Now, I've been wanting to do a video on first aid for a while, and pretty much just to show how it is I have something set up. I mean, this is not really a first aid, this is just more so of some of the things that I've came across and how I have certain things set up. So be patient, and I'll explain as we go. Now, this is my minor trauma kit. There are some things in here that I don't have because I haven't obtained them yet, but they are still extremely useful. Yeah, definitely this I think is one of the most useful other than just the average gauze. Now this is a Ambu kit. I actually took this apart, and I will put this back together here in a second just so you can see how it all comes together. Um, but this one is a lot more durable than some of the other ones you've seen. And from what I've researched, this is more so closer to military grade, but I'm not 100% on that, so I don't quote me, but this is a very good bag. Another thing that a lot of people neglect as far as having in their arsenal with their first aid kit, and this kind of always falls to the wayside because no one really thinks about this until something happens, whether it ends up being extremely high blood pressure, low blood pressure, and health things happen where it could have been avoided if you constantly monitor your vitals. And this was actually a blood pressure monitor, and I could take blood pressures without anything digital, just a standard blood pressure cuff and stethoscope. But the reason why I got this, especially for the price, if you can see how much that was, $4.99. It was actually on discount, so I actually got it for $2.99, and it actually works, and it actually is digital. So that way, someone that doesn't really have the knowledge or that much understanding, as long as you know what a healthy range for you to be in shows up, it also tells you what your pulse rate is. Also, not that accurate, but it gives you a pretty damn close reading that could actually help you monitor your health, or if there's a traumatic event, at least you can give emergency services if you are too far away from civilization. Like some people live, far out where volunteers are coming prior to a fire truck or EMT. Volunteers are coming. You might be able to help give 911 that information also if you're on the phone with them. Now, this is my first aid kit. I have quite a few goodies in here, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I have in here. And this is just for the house, but a lot of times I'll keep this in the car. I've modified it over time, but I'm going to show you what that all looks like. So let me go ahead and put this bag together so you can see that, and then we'll go from there. Alright, well, there we go. Ambu mask put together so you can do CPR. That's one thing I advise everyone to go ahead and do and get certified for some type of CPR first aid, preferably through the Red Cross. There's quite a few programs that they always have available, and they're very beneficial. If you have small children, they actually do have a small child or infant CPR, so that's something that would help you out too. Now, I just want to show you a couple things that I actually have in my bag, and I want to get some of these items out the way so that way you can see it. I'm going to zoom the camera out a little bit just so I can show you the extent of how much crap I have in my bag. And this is not a trauma bag. This is pretty much at home. Something serious happens, you can keep someone patched up and safe, as well as if you're in the car, you can do the same. Now, of course, I'll also have a disposable micro shield. This is good. You can get these from Amazon for anywhere between, I don't know, I'd say between $4 and $8, or you can get the full face mask as well, which I have. Um, that's one thing. And the thing is, this is pretty much more so for if you come in contact with someone who you don't know and who you're not familiar with. Um, you can do CPR on them if need be, because you never know with so many communicable diseases nowadays. You don't want to take any chances of jeopardizing yourself or your health, which is a hard thing to say considering in this day and age, people just need to help each other, period. Of course, assorted band-aids. These are actually pads. They might resemble like a maxi pad type thing, but these are actually abdominal pads, so you can actually take care of soaking up as much liquid or blood or bile or whatever happens, sputum, spit, or whatever it happens to be. So I have quite a few of those in here. I have some Curelex gauze rolls. I have quite a few of those. Now I have some exam gloves, because you never know, like I said, who happens to be bleeding or leaking, and you don't want to get contaminated. I actually have some sterile, pretty much like a sterile towel, so if you have to do anything that you want to make sure you're really, really careful of. You probably won't ever use something like this. I may, like if you have to replace a catheter or even a ostomy bag or anything like that, where it could bring up a chance of a high rate of infection. You want to make sure you have something like that to lay your equipment on. Gauze pads. Like I said, this isn't a trauma first aid kit. It's antacid, aspirin, children's aspirin. You also want to make sure you have something like this, because you never know who might be having a heart attack, and this could actually save their life while you're waiting for first responders to get there. I have some gauze rolls. Don't ask me why, but I decided to opt for putting cough drops in my bag. Sometimes you need them. Some more gauze, because you never know. Some rubbing alcohol, and this wasn't more so for putting on wounds, but either if you need to, you have it. It's more so for any type of sterilization that you need to take care of. Wound wash, you want to make sure you have something like that to clean up any type of wounds. It's pretty much just saline the same way here. Rolls of tape. I have rolls of tape. I have at least 3 or 4 of them in my bag. And on the front here, now mind you, this is an incomplete bag. So I don't want to hear anything from anyone else that says, "Oh, what are you doing?" Now I had a first aid kit. I actually have the bio bag and the towel, so in case you need to discard anything. This is just something basic just to have, because someone gets into a car accident, are you really going to be doing any type of big major trauma if you're not trained? No, you're not. But the gauze will come in handy. Gloves to protect yourself will come in handy. Gauze rolls to, use it what it's intended for. Those will come in handy. Anything sterile, any type of pads you want to make sure you have. Now I will be upgrading everything, and I will be getting quick clot and things like that. But like I said, this is something that I just keep in my bag. I actually keep this primarily in my car, because I figure my home first aid kit has so many things in it. I was actually able to take all my extras out of my home first aid kit and put them in here. So you never know what you might come across. You're always going to need a little band-aid and some gauze here and there. I do want to get some more, but I wanted to make sure I got a red bag. And actually, you know me, I gotta be cheap. I don't know what the price was. I think the bag by itself that I got was only $2.99. I think the bag was only $2.99. If you could read it, I don't know if you can. $2.99. So it doesn't cost much for you to start any type of first aid. You can get most of these supplies you can get from Rite Aid or Walgreens, or hell, you can get them from Walmart. All these things you can get. Blood pressure cuff, you want to be trained and practice, and someone definitely needs to show you exactly what to listen for, because a lot of people have a tendency to think that when they're looking at the dial that's the proper way to do it, and that's totally untrue. Some people may do it, but that's not the correct way to do it. So I just wanted to show you a couple things that I actually had and why I have them. And this is something, like I said, you can get a couple of these from Walmart. Get the electronic one for now, until you get trained in, like, a first aid environment that they're going to show you how to take someone's pulse. Because it will be confusing. You might not understand it. You might have the numbers in your head, but you might not read it correctly. At least this one will give you something that you can understand, and you can go by, and you can actually tell authorities just in case. Ambu bag, you always need something for first aid, whether it be for you or for children. And I actually want to get an additional mask that's more so child size, just in case. Hopefully not, but I've heard of kids being 14 to 15 years old having an infarction, heart attack. So as far as it goes, you always want to make sure you do prepare for the worst, even though you don't want to encounter the worst. It's always best to have something with you, just in case. So I don't know. Hopefully that gives you guys some ideas as far as any type of first aid or minor trauma bag for you. Like, a lot of parents take their kids and do sports every weekend. Something like this will come in handy. How many times do they have bumps and bruises and gauze? Instead of taking them to the hospital and spending $250 in an emergency room, bandage them up, make sure you keep it clean. Trust me, kids grow. They'll be fine. If they're not fine by the time they get to the hospital, they'll probably be talking about getting ice cream, and you're like, you were just bleeding all over the place 5 minutes ago. Something like this, it's not going to cost much. For everything in here, probably less than $50, and you can get a lot of the aspirin and stuff like that from the dollar store. I mean, the same brand, things like that. So things like this aren't as expensive as a lot of people make it out to be. If you look and do some research and do your digging and be vigilant with what you intend to do as far as your project or whatever you want to do, you can do it, and it's not going to take any time. So I even seen CPR masks in Rite Aid. I've seen the other mask where it's just a full mask and it pops up and it has the little bellows on it that you blow into after you put it on their face. And I've seen that for $6 or $7 on Amazon. Why wouldn't you get 2 or 3? Have one in the house, have one in the wife's car, one in your car. You never know when you're going to need it. Just make sure that you're trained first.